Hello, everyone! Throughout its nearly century-long history, Disney, the world's most famous animation studio, has created dozens of iconic films. According to some fan theories, all Disney characters live in the same universe, so the animators have to come up with more details while creating new movies. Want to see some Easter eggs hidden in the films and learn facts that you haven't noticed before? Then watch to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Let's get it on! Reusing drawings. You probably know these scenes from your childhood. The prince and the princess dancing happily amidst the cheers of the crowd, the protagonist singing surrounded by her lovely friends. Yes, we've definitely seen it in many Disney movies. It may seem surprising, but this is not just about fairy tale cliches. There's something more behind the uncanny resemblance of some scenes in different movies. For starters, you should remember how cartoons were drawn in the past. Of course, they were drawn by hand, without any powerful computer software. That's why in some cases, the animators simply made some changes on an already existing drawing, and voila, you have a new scene. Similar parallels can be drawn between Beauty and the Beast and Sleeping Beauty, Robin Hood and Snow White, Winnie the Pooh, and The Jungle Book. The list is endless. If you compare these scenes, you will see that the movements of the characters in them are identical. Some think that the studio workers did it to save money and time, but in fact, transforming an old drawing is much more difficult than creating it from scratch. So most likely in this way, the animators simply made sure to create a quality picture. Secret voice. Surely you will agree that Lilo and Stitch is one of the most touching Disney animation films. It's impossible not to be moved by the story of the little girl who loses her parents in a car accident and befriends an alien animal. Plus, the characters in this movie are incredibly cute. Aren't they charming? Here's a fact that will definitely allow you to see Lilo in a new perspective. It turns out that her voice belongs to the actress who played the role of Samara Morgan in the horror movie The Ring. You'll now have to live with this. You probably know Jackie Chan mostly as a kung fu master and protagonist of thousands of action movies, but his filmography is much more interesting than you think. For example, the famous actor lent his voice to the main character in Beauty and the Beast and also to Captain Li Shang, the one Mulan was in love with, although you can only hear him in the Chinese versions of these movies. Secret room. During his not very long but fascinating life, Walt Disney did a lot of things, and most importantly, he loved his work. No wonder that, 10 years after founding his own studio, the animator wanted to do something bigger. He dreamed of creating a real magic world right on the territory of the USA, a world that would be fascinating for both children and adults, a world where their favorite animated characters would be waiting for them. As you may have already guessed, we're talking about Disneyland. It was first opened in California in the summer of 1955. And Walt Disney was so happy about it that he literally wanted to spend all his free time in the park. Do you know how he solved this problem? He simply built a secret apartment on the second floor of the Firehouse on Main Street. This is the famous and fabulous avenue leading to the park's central plaza. By the way, almost every Disney park has a street like that. The secret apartment of the King of Animation was less than 50 square meters. But is that a problem when you live in the heart of a fantasy world? Of course, Disney didn't live there all the time. He used to come to the apartment with his family, or occasionally, he would sit there alone, watching the park visitors. He would alert the staff of his presence by placing a lamp in the window. Today, that lamp is still lit every day to symbolize the eternal presence of Walt Disney's spirit in this magical place. 4 years after the opening of the park in California, it became clear that Disneyland was worth every penny that had been spent on it. So in 1959, the studio's founder began looking for land for an even bigger project, Disney World, which opened in Florida in 1971. And Walt Disney wouldn't pass up the opportunity to build a small residence in this magical place as well, would he? Yes, this time the animator decided to build a luxurious apartment for his family right inside the main attraction of the park, Cinderella Castle. And the interior decoration here was much richer than in the modest apartment on the main street of Disneyland in California. In fact, much of the furniture was made in the 17th century. Unfortunately, Walt Disney did not live to see the opening of the park in Orlando, so he never got to spend the night in this fabulous place. Today, it is impossible to enter the suite, even on a guided tour. A few guests can visit this place after winning contests held by the company itself or by personal invitation from the management. Names with a secret meaning. Walt Disney Studios has always been known for its innovative approach and bold ideas. For example, in 1940, Fantasia, a musical animated movie that tells the adventures of fairy tale characters accompanied by famous masterpieces from composers from all over the world, was released. In addition, Disney animators were the first to start working with Easter eggs. In Fantasia, for example, the wizard is called Yensid. Doesn't this remind you of something? It's the word Disney, only backwards. By the way, many characters in science fiction movies and cartoons, from Star Wars to The Lion King, have revealing names. Do you know what Simba means in the African Swahili language? It translates simply as lion. In the iconic animated film Finding Nemo, the creators taught us that great white sharks can be good-natured, or at least aspire to be, like the funny vegetarian Bruce. That's good. But it's curious that his name is a reference to the bloodthirsty mechanical shark used during the filming of Jaws. Some fans even believe that Bruce from Finding Nemo is the son of the predator in Spielberg's film, and vegetarianism is a way for him to pay for the sins of his father. The adorable little girl from Monsters, Inc., of course, is not named Boo. Her real name is easily found in the drawings she shows Sully. It's Mary, after Mary Gibbs, who voiced Boo. Mickey's Bunker. Creating a fairy tale on the screen is simple. The only limit to your imagination is the technical difficulties in creating what you want. But how do you make people believe in a fairy tale if all the action takes place in front of their eyes? That was the question that plagued Walt Disney during the planning of the park in Florida. Above all, he was worried that during the daytime, performers in costumes would walk around the site with props from other cartoons. According to the animator, that would considerably spoil the feeling of being in a fairy tale. So the businessman ordered an intricate system of tunnels to be built under the park. It's still in use today, and thanks to this trick, the actors have been creating a magical world for Disney World visitors for years. By the way, according to some rumors, the construction of the subway passages cost the company even more than the park itself. Fairy tale smell. They say some supermarkets spray scent with the smell of freshly baked bread to get customers to buy more products. But Disney park planners have come up with something better. They created a whole innovative system that better immerses visitors in each universe. For example, in the Pirates of the Caribbean section, this system emits the scent of salt water in the air, and on Main Street, the scent of fresh baked goods and vanilla. And we're not gonna lie, this multiplies the revenue of Disney's stores. Hairy monster. If you've ever drawn, you probably know which part of a portrait is the most difficult. The hair, of course. Now imagine having to animate hair and make it look natural while it moves. Sounds complicated? It is indeed. No wonder hairy characters are the biggest headache for animators. For example, Sully from Monsters, Inc. in the original 2001 movie already looked pretty cool. But in the prequel, which came out in 2013, his hair is even more believable. A small piece of trivia: about 5.5 million hairs were drawn on the monster's body, 5 times more than in the first film. No wonder it took over 24 hours to render each frame of Monsters University. Unusual accessory. Mickey Mouse is not only an absolutely famous Disney character, but also an American pop culture icon. Even in the most remote corners of the earth, people know what he looks like. And surely you remember that the hands of the funny mouse are covered with white gloves. And you may have noticed that Goofy, Minnie Mouse, and many other characters of the era also wear this accessory. So what's the reason for such an unusual trend? There are several explanations. Firstly, it's difficult to draw the paws of different animals. This takes a lot of time, which means spending more money. Secondly, the gloves appeared at the time when cartoons were in black and white and allowed to generate contrast on the screen. And thirdly, the gloves made Mickey look more human. It may seem funny, but the trick worked. It was even adopted by cartoonists from rival companies. That's why characters like Bugs Bunny and Woody Woodpecker also wear gloves. Oscar and the Seven Dwarves. Disney films are traditionally on Oscar shortlists almost every year, and Walt Disney himself still holds the record for individual awards from the American Academy of Motion Pictures. Among others, he received an award in 1939 for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But it wasn't just a statuette as usual, or rather, it wasn't just one. In addition to the regular Oscar, the animator received 7 tiny copies, one for each dwarf. Famous last words. When people talk about the last words of famous people on their deathbed, you expect to hear some incredible revelation. In the case of Walt Disney, everything was much more mysterious, as it happens in the movies. Just before retiring to the other world, the cartoonist wrote on a piece of paper 2 words, the first and last name of Hollywood actor Kurt Russell. Why? Nobody knows. However, shortly before that, the studio signed a 10-year contract with the young actor, which he successfully completed. Hold on a second. Do you want to see some crazy stories from real life? Nothing dull, only action. Only adventures, chases and fights, love confessions and sudden betrayals. Don't believe us? Follow the link and see for yourselves. Our animation channel Private Diary reveals the deepest secrets. Don't forget to subscribe.